All right, we are live and we have another episode of Travel Tip Tuesday. And today, my guest is Peter Negron. And I'm so happy to have you here on today. We're going to take a little bit of a different direction this week with talking about how you can invest in travel to pay for your travel. In past weeks, I usually talk about what's changing in the real estate industry and everything like that. And this is about what's changing in the real estate industry. So it's still about that, but it's taking a different spin on things. So I'm excited to have you, Peter. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's kind of delve right into it, investing in travel. But before we get super into that and nitty-gritty on that, I want you to introduce yourself. What do you do? How did you get into this whole realm of investing? And just tell people about you.
So my name is Peter Negron. I'm with the Hunt Group, powered by Keller Williams, right here in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And the investment aspect of what I do came kind of naturally, really. It was as easy as somebody just telling me that I couldn't do it. So that really kind of irked me a little bit. And one of the things that I tried to do little by little is learn something new every day. Now, don't get me wrong. I failed a lot, and sometimes I failed pretty hard, but I was consistent and I figured out a plan and I stuck to that plan. And now I'm in a much better place. And I do understand finances to the point where I feel comfortable in investing in different little things so that I can better myself up later on down the road. So
Hey, that's what it's all about.
I pass a lot of that knowledge on because a lot of people think that it's a daunting task, but really, if you're just consistent and you're just as consistent as you are as looking at your phone, then you can actually pick up some of these habits and make just better choices that give you a much fuller life. So
Absolutely. And I don't think you learn anything in life. It's like those things in life when you're like trying to tell your friends about your mistakes that you did, right? And it's like they never learn that way. You almost always have to go through the process yourself. And like you got to trip and fall and like learn from those mistakes because that's what life is.
right,
So I mean, the
absolutely.
fact that you took someone said you can't do it and you're like, yes I can, and you kept doing it. I admire that.
Well, it wasn't easy to tell you the truth, and I'm still learning every day. I want to start this off by letting everybody know that I am not a financial specialist. This is my disclaimer. So I do not have any special licenses or anything like that. But these are just tips to open up the conversation of investing. People think of investing as a scary, topic to talk about because they don't know anything about it. But how are you going to know anything about it if you don't even try to look for that information?
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's one of those things, everybody's scared to like look into new things, but it's one of those things that you have to take an option and just a chance to look at it and explore it, because sometimes it's just about changing a matter of perspective. And I know that you're going to kind of go into that later, foreshadowing. So I'm excited to hear what you have to share with us. Do you want to start with what are some tricks that you think, like easy tricks that people can do to start saving or investing that they can put into travel? Like what are some of those tips that you might do off the bat, or do you want to go into the presentation side first?
No. We can talk about how to get started, because honestly, my presentation kind of leads into once you're already set on doing a vacation, what are some good ways to kind of set it up so that you can have success and make it to your goal. But beforehand, there's a couple of little things that you can do before you even start thinking about investing that'll help you out in the long run.
Absolutely.
So, first and foremost, think about what your needs are compared to what your wants are. This is a good time to really reflect on what it is on an everyday basis that you would more than likely get had you been moving around more freely, and think about those things that you have not been purchasing this whole time. What is it? Are those things really something that you want? Now, one of the things that you can do is start off with a, discretionary budget. Whatever you don't pay towards your bills, what do you pay for after that? Nobody really tracks that. Everybody kind of figures, I paid my bills. This is my money now, and
Yeah.
that's great. And you're totally right in thinking that. But before you pay for something that you don't need, pay yourself. Pay yourself something which you can use later on. So start off small. Think about the little things that, yeah, maybe it's something that you always subscribe to, but you never use, or maybe it's something that you always eat and find yourself eating something a little bit different these days. Those are things that don't really have that much of an importance in your life. You can take that out and add that to your travel budget, just like that.
And it's funny because I think a lot of people have that in the forefront of their mind right now, because we just went through with the coronavirus and COVID, or well, it's the same thing, but like quarantine, I meant to say, with
Yeah.
quarantine, we were stuck in our homes. We weren't able to like really go out and eat. We weren't able to like, go and do these things that we'd normally be spending our discretionary funds on. I mean, I know I saved a lot of money, and I was like, I mean, I miss going and doing those things, but like all of the money that I saved because of that, I was like,
Yeah.
thanks, COVID.
I mean, if you think about it, the scope of it all, you don't know how many dinners you've been taking. You don't really know how many times you've been eating out every day, but you can take this time to now see, I've been saving X amount of dollars, and now I can be spending that somewhere else with some well-planned thoughts. It's almost like you're reprogramming yourself to give yourself that life that you keep on thinking about, but you never actually do. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I tell people all the time, it's just about going and doing it. Like, you just have to set your mind to it and do it. I've said in one of my videos before, I forgot what it was. It was either in my past, like the how to get a passport video, or how to travel. One of those videos. I don't know. All the videos I do. But one of them I mentioned, if you feel that you can't afford a passport, which a passport is what, $130 after everything. It's $130.
70 if you want it expedited.
Yeah, if you want to expedite. Well, expediting isn't really happening right now because of COVID and everything. But I mean, and granted, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks anyways, and it might be a little bit longer now due to COVID. But even so, like, a lot of people aren't comfortable per se traveling today. So like, it might be 6 to 8 weeks before you even travel. So why not get your passport now and be prepared for that moment?
Absolutely.
So it's like $130. I made the point to be like, hey, why don't you just stop eating out like once a week, and just take that money and put it aside, and in 4 to 8 weeks you'll have that money.
I'm gonna break it down even further. Let's say you're a teenager right now. You're in your late teens, early 20s. All you have to do is not pay for drinks for your friends for one night, and you can get yourself a passport.
There you go.
That's it. Just let them pay for their own drinks.
Wait, where do you get those friends that pay for your drinks? I want those friends.
I'm just speaking to the ones that are being really generous these days. So
yeah. Well, hey, if you guys want to be my friends, I'll be your friend.
yeah. Now,
yeah, no, absolutely.
One of the other things is, eating out. Eating out at restaurants right now is one of the major things that could be helping a certain industry, but it puts a focus on how much time you spend eating out right now. So I know for a fact that there's a lot of people that haven't been eating out as much as they actually used to eat out, and offsetting those costs could actually be beneficial for you now. Now you can understand like exactly how much money you're saving, between now and the time you take a trip, just by excluding one thing. And it was by mistake, and it was over a really bad situation, but you can turn a bad situation into something positive by just actually, redoing your budget and fitting in some of the plans that you want to do now, while you can have time to plan for it. And then before you know it, you'll have enough money saved up, maybe not just to go on one, but to hit two of those spots on your destination list.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's all about just planning for the future. That's why I started all of this. You know, it's funny. My mom, when I first started doing all this, she's like, why are you talking about travel? Nobody's traveling right now. I was like, okay, well, eventually they're going to be traveling.
Right. But they're all sitting at home. They're all on their phones. Everybody's on Facebook. And now they're planning on their trips. This is what you can do with all that free time. Stay away from the TV. Start planning for yourself. Believe me, when everything gets lifted, the TV will not have to tell you. You will know. I promise you that. So
you need me to tell you. You'll just know.
Somebody's going to tell somebody and you'll find out. I promise.
That is social media nowadays. That is social media. It's like everybody knows, like at a drop of a hat, everything that's going on.
And leading into that list that I was talking about, I think it's a good time to start the presentation.
Okay, let's pull it up.
That'll be before we touch on too many points that I already put together.
Sounds good. Let's throw it up here. All right. So investing in your future. Loving it.
That's right. You have to invest not just in what you want materialistic wise, but how full is your life going to be? You know, a lot of people don't take the chance to travel, and I'll show you the direct numbers later on in the presentation, but a lot of people choose other things other than enriching their life, enriching those experiences that they have in life. So when I say investing in your future, this is you investing in the experiences you have with your family, with your significant others, whatever the case may be, but it definitely brings your enjoyment of your life a little bit better when you're able to disconnect not only from your job, but also just disconnect completely from where you are and enjoy something totally new and different and see things, maybe some history. Maybe it's something that you've been wanting to see forever and you see on TV all the time. Now you can actually go there. That's investing in you. That's investing in your future.
Absolutely. And I want to add to that. You do not need to wait until you're retired to travel. That is a misconception. In the US, we have this whole mentality where we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to wait until I retire to travel because that's when I'm going to have money. Okay, well, are you going to have your youth? What if you, I might not be as comfortable jumping off a cliff when I'm 80. You know what I mean?
Zip lining at 80 is probably dangerous. So I would think that you want to do something, you know, that's fun and outdoorsy and, you know, where you're going to take a little bit of time, maybe go for a nature walk or something like that. Try and do it when you're still young enough to do something like that.
And that's absolutely why I started like talking about this. I wanted to open up that conversation and be like, investing in your experiences.
There you go.
Invest in your experiences because the one thing, your money will come and go, but your experiences will stay with you.
That's right.
People don't remember how much money they made in a specific month 4 years ago, but they remember a trip they had 4 years ago.
That's right. You may not remember that year that you made $35,000, but you'll remember that year that you went to New Zealand.
Yeah. And you'll be talking about it. You'll be like, oh yeah, that one time I went to New Zealand. People be like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you just let me know when you want me to go to the next slide, and I'll be your.
Go ahead.
All right. Oh, yeah. It was working earlier. There we go.
First of all, do not get dissuaded by the price of the trip that you're taking. There's steps that you can take for any trip, and all you have to do is you have to figure out those logistics in order to figure out a plan, in order to figure out goals, and then hit short-term goals. That way you can make sure that you're always going in the right direction for that trip. Like I said, investing is not always easy. You are going to have setbacks. You may have to change dates, but that's not an issue. All you have to do is make sure you're prepared before you get the trip secured. So honestly, if the price tag of your trip is a problem, don't look at it as a problem. Look at it as your end goal. This is what I need in order to get to wherever that is that I got a picture of. That looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it does. I want to be there right now.
I think I'm probably going to have to go and check it out for myself.
Yeah, right? We'll some margaritas. How about that?
All right. I'm good. Sounds good. I'm ready.
Sounds good to me.
We can go to the next slide.
All righty.
So I just want to say this quote right here. All things are ready if your mind be so. And that kind of touches on what we talked about earlier in our conversation, that people just aren't ready to talk about investing in themselves, investing in planning for their future. But if you could just say, you know what, I'm going to take that barrier off. I'm going to say, you know what, I have a goal. I have a time limit to meet that goal. Then all you have to do is figure out the logistics in between. So if you're ready, it'll happen. You just have to make it so. Make it that reality. So first off, I want to accredit the I want to show that I have an accreditation here to a website. I believe it's DuckDuckGo. I can't see right now, but
The penny hoarder?
The link that I have on there.
Yeah, the pennyhoarder.com.
Yeah, there you go. Pennyhoarder.com is where I got majority of this information for this particular segment. So if you ever get a chance, go to Penny Hoarder and kind of skim around. It has some really good tips and tricks for you to slowly but surely, build your investment portfolio. Now,
yeah, I've seen some great articles from them too.
Yeah, they have really, really good articles, especially about travel and, when you're talking about home expenses and budgeting. I mean, it's a very good free source for you to go to and just get some tips. Maybe not all of them work for you, but hey, you might find the one that's just perfect for you and your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So get prepared with a plan. Give yourself small, manageable goals. So if you're trying to get to a $10,000 mark, don't expect that you're gonna do it in 2 months and save $5,000 each month if it's not within the scope of your budget. Just be realistic about it. That way you don't fail all the way there and then get dissuaded. Make it a goal, then make short, manageable goals in between that you can hit. And then track your progress. That's really important, tracking your progress to that goal. Now, here's one of the things that makes it like solidified and makes it an actual thing, it's real, is when you create an itinerary. Make sure you include the location, the date of travel, and the time. But remember, because you have setbacks, the time and the date can be changed as long as you don't go ahead and purchase everything ahead of time. So just make sure that you give yourself that good amount of time to make sure that your goal gets to completion.
And what I like to do about that is I put in my travel journal, my travel bucket list, and I write it down. I write down things that I'm interested in seeing. And then it gets me excited about it. And now I've written it down and I've almost made it a thing. So it's like, okay, now I've got to make this happen.
Right.
And then you put down all the things that you're interested in, you're excited about it. And then what I like to do is actually write down all the things that I'm interested in. And then I wait until I get there and I book it all when I get there. I don't want to be on, the biggest recommendation I could make to anybody trying to travel is do not go somewhere and have a strict schedule. This is what I'm going to do at 11. This is what I'm going to do at 12. This is what I'm going to do at 1. No, don't do that. You need to give yourself a flexible schedule because I don't know what I want to eat tomorrow, let alone what I want to do in 12 months.
Exactly. That was so perfectly said. When I say create itinerary, I just mean put it on paper. Put it on paper. Whatever it is for you that's going to make it real, write it down somewhere. That way you're accountable. Taken that idea and you brought it to life, whether it be on paper or you're getting ready to jump on the plane. All of those are very important in the process, but don't just keep on thinking about things and not giving yourself time to strategize and plan for it.
Absolutely.
So another thing is create a complete budget. Now, this is another thing that may change over time, but at the time when you're creating your itinerary, you can at least have a budget set so that you know exactly how much it's going to take for you to complete all those tasks. Maybe the dates and times will change. Maybe the date that you actually leave will change and all that'll be different, but at least you'll have enough in your budget to cover everything you want to see. And even better, let's just say you get there and you realize, you know what? I don't really like that. Guess what? A chunk of your budget is now rolled over into your next trip. You're
Mhm.
welcome.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can talk about that. You can make a budget. You can say, this is what I'm willing to spend.
Mhm.
And then you can work things into it. Like, okay, how much is this? Deduct it from your budget. And then
Exactly.
go from there. Be like, these are the top, let's say you have 5 things. Well, these 2 things I definitely want to do. And
Mhm.
then you can negate the rest and see like where it's going to work for you.
Right, exactly. And that leads into the next one is stay within your scope. If you have a budget of $5,000, you are not going to Hawaii. I promise you that. And if you do get there for whatever reason, you're probably going to be on a really strict budget. I just want everybody to make sure that they also stay within their scope. Hey, maybe you're not going overseas, but maybe you're going somewhere in the States with the budget that you chose. But pick somewhere to go and then stay within the scope of that budget so that you can better plan for the next one. The first one is usually the hardest because most people are not really used to trying to figure out what their expenses are going to be or how much this or that flight's going to cost. But once you start getting the hang of it and start getting used to it, start finding all these little discounts here and there and joining, traveling clubs and things like that to give you percentages off. I mean, it just starts getting easier. You start helping yourself. And it's one of those things where now your goals are more manageable because you figured out the sequence of things you need to do that you personally need to do in order to make sure that you get to the place that you're looking to get to.
Absolutely. And it all depends on what type of travel you want to do too. I think that that's very important. Like when you're taking a trip, I mean, the way I travel and the way you travel, Peter, could be completely different. And we could be taking the exact same trip, but you could be spending double the amount of money that I am.
Absolutely.
Because it just depends on, I know that the type of travel that I talk about on my travel tip, or not on this, but like the type of travel that I talk about in my YouTube videos is really about like, how can you do it affordably? Because the people that I'm specifically talking to in those videos are people in college or just getting out of college that may not have a lot of money.
Right.
I love traveling and like going to hostels and everything. I love hotels too. Don't get me wrong. Like I like having my own space too. So there are definitely trips that I'm going to take, like when I'm going to a hotel and I'm going to spend a little bit more money. But then there are trips that I'm taking where I'm going into hostels and I'm spending the minimum money and like getting the bare bones experience of a place because I want to feel the culture of a country. So
Right.
there are definitely ways that you can make your budget work for you. You just have to look into them and like decide. I think the first step is decide what kind of travel you want.
Right, right. And honestly, Lucy, I've watched a lot of your Travel Tip Tuesday stuff. So that's another reason why I kind of wanted to jump on with you because on top of what you're doing, there's an investment portion to it too. So that way, even if you want to save and now you have an expense budget for it, it's one of
Hmm.
those things where it's second nature. Now, if you do want to travel, in a more cost effective manner and you're able to take a lot of your trip tips and save money. Now you have more of a traveling budget. That's exactly what we were talking about. That's
Absolutely.
You can take a one trip budget and turn it into a 3 trip budget. But those things are the things that you're going to pick up over time. It's just getting over that hump. Just doing those little things that are going to actually get you towards your end goal. So
Absolutely. And hey, it's all about little steps. And if I can make one trip, 12 trips, why not?
exactly. All right.
All right.
Okay. So it's unfortunate how some people complain about being financially uh, unstable, yet they use their last savings to acquire material things. So this is where I go into the savings portion of it all. Savings is important for everyone. And I know that savings can be a bad word in some cases, but think of your savings as your own personal emergency credit card. You save, you are paying yourself interest, and you're able to use that money for whatever it is that you want. You're not handing away 17, 18% to another company because you decided you needed it right now. So savings are really important thing, a way to start. First of all, investing. Second of all, investing in you. And most importantly to this segment, investing in your travel. So let's
Yes.
start with the conventional savings. Pillowcase or under the bed. A lot of people decide. A lot of
What do you
people,
mean? I don't got nothing under there. What are you talking about?
you know, I'm just saying there's a lot of different demographics that are watching this show. So I want to make sure to touch on a little bit of everything.
Absolutely. I'm just giving you a hard time. I gotta take a couple pennies under there. I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying there got to be something under there
Yeah.
at least,
Yeah.
So when people think about savings, a lot of people, especially for trips, they think that the best thing to do is just take the actual cash money from the bank and keep it at home. And that's all well and good if that's something that you can sustain, but there's some downside risk to that also. And I'll get to that on the next slide. But the next thing is a conventional savings account. So a trusted bank or a credit union, you can open up a travel account just for your travel, and you can put some kind of revolving payment towards that when you get direct deposit to your bank. You can go ahead and set aside that travel money that you've already planned out for, budgeted. Now all you have to do is figure out what monthly increments you have to take it out of your paycheck. So that's another easy and effective way to do travel. Travel savings accounts in outside entities, things that are going to render you some kind of small, very small interest rate usually, but it's at least a savings account that's just deemed for travel. So if you don't have a regular bank account for whatever reason, you can open up a bank account just specifically for your travel savings account and have that money direct deposited straight from your check to that account.
Okay.
Uh, Another account is a save the change direct deposit savings, and most banks have it. I just put Chase there as one of the examples. Another one, which is a completely online portal, is called Stash, which you can get on your phone, and it also allows you to be exposed to the stock market. So you have your choice of keeping it in your account and just using it as a savings, or you can turn it around, take that money, put it into a free market account, and invest in incremental shares on the live stock market. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that it's not easy to pick stocks. So if you do have any questions regarding, the financial wellness of a company or anything like that, just please either do your due diligence yourself or speak to a financial planner, and they can give you some good tips and tricks on how to pick out a good solid company in order to invest your money for a long-term period of time.
Absolutely. And if depending on where you guys are, like I know a couple of local ones, if you need someone who's honest and just going to give you some advice, I've got you. So you just let me know.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the thing about it is don't look at financial planning, savings, or investing as a bad word. These things are all things that are going to benefit you. Let's try to steer your travel plans away from you having to use your credit cards as much as possible, and actually put some money in your bank account, and at the same time you're able to start putting together plans of you traveling for the future. Like enriching yourself over time is probably the best investment you can do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are ways, I will say, that because there are some of my videos that you can utilize credit cards to your advantage, but only if you do it the right way.
Right.
Not pay them the interest. All right.
Watch all the videos before this. That way you can go ahead and understand what's going on right here.
Absolutely. But specifically, it's my video, how to get a round trip to Europe for $100.
Okay. See? Ooh.
Go check out that video.
There you go. Plan for the trip to Europe, make your budget, and then go look for the savings trips right here in Lucy.
Exactly. It's all interconnected.
It's a circle.
It is a circle. A circle of life. You're going to go into Lion King now.
I can't see, so I'm just gonna leave that to you. Go ahead.
I mean, I could, but like, I'd probably screech on here. So yeah, I'll just save it.
It's all good. It's all in good fun.
All right, next page.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Ooh, all right.
We're going to compare the pros and cons of a conventional savings and an investment, an interest bearing account. And when I say interest bearing, I'm speaking to those accounts that expose you to the stock market. Because while you can put your money in a savings account, it yields you a very low interest rate. A lot of these different interest bearing accounts, they have so many different ways to help you invest your money. And even if you decide that, hey, maybe uh, I can't do it myself personally using the internet and these apps, maybe I can reach out to a financial planner and open an account very similar to this interest bearing account, and then just have it specifically there so that I can, grow my savings and enjoy the larger interest that they're yielding. So if you speak with financial planners, their initial startup costs are different, but
Yeah,
quite honestly, if you have enough money to pay for a trip to California, then more than likely you'll have enough to start a personal managed account. So
and there are different types too, because like I know my connection that I have, like there are no minimums for him.
right,
So like he's super genuine and nice, and he like you could start off with $50 if you want.
right,
He'll help you.
and honestly, when you have that sit down conversation with them, if you tell them, hey, listen, this is an account so that I can travel with, I'm going to have to get money out of this account next year. I need this budget. He will tell you exactly how to get there.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
here's the pros and cons. Conventional savings, you can save daily, weekly, monthly. Now, when I talk about conventional savings, I mean we keep it in the envelope under your pillow format. Now, the cons of that is you may use or lose that money. And honestly, that's the biggest con of having cash inside your home is readily available. If something pops up last minute, you're gonna throw that money into the mix. It just happens. If you have it in an account outside of your home, away from you specifically, not that anybody here I think is terrible at finances or anything like that, but it's hard to not use that money when it's so easily accessible like that. It at least gives you that one barrier before, so you can kind of think about the decision and maybe use some other form of payment. There's no way to track your account without counting it every single day. So honestly, I don't know how many accountants are out there, how many people have money machines to count their bills, but it could get a long, tedious process if you're trying to do a trip around Europe and you're saving your money inside your house. So you're probably going to need a couple $1,000s, and I'm pretty sure nobody wants to be counting that money every week to make sure that they're hitting their goal.
Absolutely.
And the last and most important is there's no interest made on that money. There's zero interest on the money that you put under your pillow or in an envelope or under your bed. Zero. So the fact that you're keeping it there, you're actually losing money. You're leaving money on the table at that point. There's a lot of, you know, uh, people that think that their money is safer at home, but to be quite honest with you, there's nothing safe about it. The only safety you have is the safety net of knowing that it's right there for you if you need it. So keep that in mind when you think about keeping your money in an isolated place in your house. Out of sight, out of mind. Uh, Interest bearing accounts. The pros of that is everyone that's associated with this trip can account for the money inside those accounts. You can give everybody access, and everybody who's in on, whether it be you and your spouse, or you and a group of friends, or you and some family members, you can give everybody the ability to look at the account and make sure that you guys are all achieving your goals. It adds a little bit of accountability to it also. And you don't have to be like saying, oh yeah, I definitely put that $200 in the envelope this month. It doesn't have to be that way. They don't even have to ask you. They can just look and find it for themselves. Boom, just like that.
Yeah, no, I know that whenever I get cash, I'm so bad. I just like, I'm like, where did I put that again? Yeah,
Exactly.
it's so bad. I mean, I don't know how people deal with cash every day. My dad was such a cash person, and I'm like, I can't. I don't remember. I don't know what I do. I leave it in a pocket. It's gone.
It can be done. It totally can be done, but you have to be really vigilant about having cash around you. You know, if you feel comfortable, like I said, that is definitely an option for you. But you're leaving something on the table at that point. And the next point is testament to that. You gain interest over time, and it varies by the device you use. Even in a conventional savings account at a bank or credit union, you're gaining more interest than if it's just sitting at home. So keep that in mind. And the interest varies from different platforms. So please, sit down with different people and speak on what their returns are if you decide to go with a financial planner. And at the same token, make sure that if you do plan on going to like a stock market account and you choose a company that is going to be doing well, that you make a sound choice in the matter. We're going to show a picture here a little bit later that can kind of tell you a testament to that right there. Um,
Absolutely.
you can easily transfer funds from one account to the other. And with that said, you can protect your investment. So if you have an investment account and you know that you're only going to spend X amount of dollars between the airport and when you land, all you have to do is deposit that certain specific amount of money into your bank account to protect yourself. Everybody knows that there's a lot of things that can happen, especially if you go overseas. So the minimum amount of money that you can keep in that account and still be able to do what you need to do throughout the day, the better. And whatever you don't use out of that account, guess what? It rolls over to the next trip. So boom, it's another way to inadvertently save your money. Now,
Absolutely. And you know what I just thought of that you could do
what?
technically? Because like, you know how we talked about the credit cards, right? And like the trick to credit cards, right, is to not pay interest. So pay it before the end of
Mhm.
the month, right? So let's say you have a travel credit card, right? I have some travel credit cards, and I have a travel credit card, and I'm gonna spend my money on my travel credit card, right?
Right.
And I'm gaining my points from that travel credit card. Your money's actually protected when you're on doing it through a credit card too, because if there's any fraud or anything, if something happens, they cover you and they'll pay for it. So there's
Mhm.
that. You can have all of your money set aside, but then you could utilize the credit card, and then before that due date, you could pay it all off, and then you're using the money that you already have, but now you've got points in your travel credit card that you can be using towards a flight.
Yes, they call that triple dipping because
Yeah,
you're building up
not the
your credit score.
hey, I'm about it.
You're boosting your credit score, you're paying for your trip, and you're getting points for a flight. That is called doing what's in your best interest. That is the epitome of capitalism. Take advantage of it.
Hey,
Go
you gotta make your money work for you, not against you.
right,
Okay? That's
right.
what I put in the caption of this. Making your money work for you, not against you. You gotta take advantage of the man.
Right. Invest in yourself. That's all you got to do. Invest in yourself. Now, the cons of some of these interest bearing accounts is the learning curve. A lot of people are really scared of technology to a point, but honestly, once you learn the system, that's really the hardest part of using it because most people that are scared to use the technology understand finances, and most people that understand the technology don't understand finances. So we kind of have to bridge that gap here at some point in time, but I think we're getting slowly there. We're getting slowly there. uh,
Absolutely. Hey, that's what we're here for, right? You know,
exactly.
traveler, investor, bridging the gap.
They call that synergy or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Last but not least, on the con side, is people may not be comfortable with direct deposit, especially to outside accounts, and that's totally understandable. You can also use a different account to direct deposit into your stash account. So you can use your personal account. You don't have to have it come directly out of your paycheck. You don't have to have, it come directly out of your savings. You can have it come directly out of a different checking account that you have in order to kind of protect yourself there also.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. Some good stuff, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ooh, do you want? Yeah, I want to travel.
Yeah. Who wants to travel? Who wants to
Ooh, look at these.
Here's the
Let's talk
stats.
about this.
Here is the stats, and I got
Mm.
this from Forbes. So 54% of people in the United States have traveled to 10 states or less.
You know
10
what's crazy?
states.
I've visited 10. 10.
Bam.
I'm not even in what?
You're,
I'm not even
you're
not
hitting
yet.
the line. You're right there. I mean, like I said, that's more than average. That's
I know.
54%. A
To
lot
to
of
be
people.
fair, I've traveled more European countries than I have the U.S. But
All right.
yeah,
All right.
let's go.
You gotta catch up on your Nebraska.
I am. That's been a short amount of time, Peter. A lot of those, like I think 6 of those in the last 2 years. So
Hey, everybody could really go out and get to learn this country. It's a lot more beautiful than people like to believe. Let's when everybody, and this is just me saying this. I really believe that the first trip anybody decides to use this on be a trip inside the United States. That way, it's a manageable trip. It's something they can be comfortable with, and at the same time, they can add to the economy. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of wins going on there. So just try and think of a place that you'd like to go, and boom, let's make it happen.
absolutely. And I mean, there's so that domestic travel is becoming more and more wanted right now too, because I mean, it's hard. First of all, we can't go anywhere. We can't even go to Canada.
Right.
International travel isn't available right this instant. So I mean, I know I'm itching to leave, and I know that I'm probably going to be taking a trip in September to which I had already planned. I mean, I didn't get to do my international trip in April, but I'm looking at. I was just going to go to Idaho in September, but now I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to rent a car. I'm going to go to Idaho. I'm going to go to Montana. I'm going to go to Washington. I'm just going to be in nature, like, social distance myself from everybody. I'm just going to drive around the beautiful country that we have here.
Yeah.
And then, hey, that'll be 3 more states. I'll be at 13 states.
Hey, she did it. She made it past the regular
54%.
So that's it. She's gonna be in that top 46% of people in the United States that have traveled outside of 10 states. I mean, me personally, I've only hit 10 states, and I've been in the military. So
We're on the cusp. We're on the cusp, Peter.
I'm getting there. I am. And the next place I want to go to is probably going to be like Colorado or Washington too. So we'll see.
Colorado is gorgeous. I couldn't stop looking at those Rocky Mountains. I'm like, how do these people drive here? I would just crash into like the highway. I'm just looking at the sky the whole time.
Giving it away, Lucy. You're giving it away. I still got to go there.
Well, I mean, if you didn't know there was mountains, I mean.
Yeah, but I don't want you to tell me how beautiful they are. I want to see it for myself.
Let's look at some other statistics here.
Yeah,
Never
so
left the country.
never left the country. So 40% of people in the United States have never left the country, not even once. And I didn't get the statistics on how many people have only gone once. So that may be even higher than that. So just keep that in mind. There's plenty of the world to see outside of this country also. And once everything opens up, I would just urge you to try and go see some of these places you've always wanted to see, or maybe it's something that you see on Instagram or something like that. Everybody that goes to these places that live in the US have done exactly what we're talking about doing. They planned, they created goals, they hit those goals, and they went.
Absolutely. And another statistic that I had just had in one of my past videos, my passport video, was that only 42% of Americans, which is actually has grown a lot since 2007, It's grown 15% since 2007, but 42% of Americans have their passport, which is drastically lower than other countries. Other countries are at like 69%. I believe Canada is like 72%. And only 42% of Americans have their passport just to be able to travel internationally.
That's pretty wild because you know what? If you look at my statistic and your statistic, that means
Yep,
about 10% of Americans have traveled outside the country without a passport.
that's true. Well, the thing is that, I mean, so in 2007, they passed a law that you had to have a passport to be able to travel to the Bahamas
Mhm.
or to Canada, to those different places
Uh,
that are bordering the U.S. So that's where the spike came from, was
mhm.
because in 2007 they mandated that you needed a passport. So then everybody went out and got their passport because that's where everyone in the U.S. goes. They go to
Mhm.
Canada, they go to Mexico, they go to the Bahamas. They don't
Mhm.
go internationally, or which is what I'm trying to encourage them to do. Like, yes, Bahamas beautiful, Mexico amazing, Canada great, but like get a little bit outside of your, just over the fence.
Right. Stop dipping your toes in the water.
Yeah,
Just go.
yeah, just jump.
Now, here's a pretty concerning statistic. 11% of people have never traveled outside of their state. So that's wild.
It is. I've met people that have never left their town.
Hey,
Their town.
to each his own, you know. If that's what you want,
Absolutely.
if that's what you want to do, that's one thing. But some people just don't travel because they feel they don't have the
They
ability to.
they feel like they can't. They feel like there is something holding them back. Like they feel like there is. I feel like a lot of people are just afraid of what they don't know. At the end of the
Hmm.
day,
Right.
and that's completely understandable. But you don't know what you don't know. Like if you don't go out there and see it, like you would never know that there are mountains in Colorado if you didn't go to Colorado and if we didn't have the internet. But like think about back in the day when like people just had like maps and like you didn't know what you were driving into. Like
Or
you didn't have.
like me, you had the Encyclopedia Britannica that you sat down and you had like 50 versions and you could see all these places in a book, but you really could never go there, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. And a lot of people traveled with those travel books. Like they would have to purchase a book and be like, okay, these are the places to go. And then they're like, okay, let me look on the map. It is insane. It's insane to me that people like, you want to go somewhere, right? Now you can just Google it. Just Google it. How to travel to blank. You'll find it. They'll tell you step by step instructions.
Yeah. You know, be careful you don't give your money to some like weird
True.
corporation, but at the same time, you know, there's definitely plenty of good information out there just for you. Instead of looking through 200 pictures of, you know, whatever place it is that you want to go to, why don't you take a little bit of that time and figure out what it's going to take for you to get to that place that you want to go to?
Absolutely. Well, I think what they should do is they should write down in their little journal where they want to go, where they think they would want to go, and then go look at the pictures. Inspire yourself. Make
Hey,
yourself want it so much that you're like, I have to make this happen, or else what am I?
that's right. That's exactly what it is. You have to
I mean,
will to do things, just like you wake up in the morning and you want that cup of coffee. You know, want this as much you want that cup of coffee.
it's like the little what's that commercial with the fish? It's like you got to be quicker than that. A little dollar, you got to put a dollar in front of you, hang it, and dangle it like a carrot, and
Right.
go for it.
Exactly. Whatever you got to do to get yourself to move in that direction, do it. Just do it. You know, there's plenty of thoughts floating around in your mind. Make this one a reality.
So I look at this next statistic: 13% have never flown.
Right. And you know what? Honestly, I think a part of that is it could be that people are scared to fly, but I
Mhm.
just want to let people know that statistically you are more able to get into a car crash than you are into an airplane crash. So,
Yes, yes.
and you could look that up yourself. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but I know that that is true. So you can be rest assured that when you get into a plane, there is so many regulations before you even get up into the air. There's so many checklists that you don't see. a lot of the delays have to do with some of those checklists that you have in your flight. So that's another thing. If you get mad because they tell you that you're not flying or that you have to depart so that they can get you another plane, be happy that they did that because they couldn't fly. And then that would add to that statistic. They're very, very safe. So just make sure that you know that.
And another, I use that all the time too. That exact statistic is that you're more likely to get in a car crash than a plane crash. But another thing is that because I did a video on like excuses on why people don't travel. I literally asked some of my friends, and I was like, "Hey, why haven't you traveled to Europe yet? Like, tell me why." And I put them into a video, and then I debunked them all. I said, this is why it's invalid. And one of them was, I don't like planes because they're claustrophobic. Like, I don't like being on a plane because it's claustrophobic or, whatever it might be. Now, international planes are huge. They're huge. Huge. I won't say that. No, I'm just kidding. So they're big and they're like double deckered. They're like double the size of these planes, like the normal planes that you would go on. You don't feel like anything. Like you might as well be in a cruise. You know what I mean? Like it's
it's true.
It's big. So if you're uncomfortable being around a bunch of people, or not about around. But being claustrophobic in those like two seats, the big international ones, they do try to make it a little bit more comfortable and like more spacious so you're comfortable flying on those long flights.
And we could just go back to what we spoke about earlier. If you want that comfort level that you want, budget it into your trip. There's plenty of different places that you can sit on that plane. If this is going to be the one thing that makes you not go there, then save in other places and budget for that seat.
And what I will say is that here in the U.S., our transportation system isn't the best. I wish it was better. I truly do. But if you do get over to Europe, their transportation system is amazing. You do not need to go on a plane to get you can get anywhere by bus, train. The train system over in Europe is amazing. Like it's crazy where you can get just with their public transportation system. So if you are, not comfortable with flying and you want to get on the big plane and just make it over there and then you can travel all around without going on a plane, there's so many options. You just have to think. It's all about your perception and how you kind of work around it.
Right. And as you get used to doing this travel and as you get used to going outside of your comfort zone, you can also get used to figuring out what travel methods are the best for you. So if you really don't like to fly, make the flight there and back the only flight that you have to do. You know? And everything else in between turns into a boat ride or a bus ride or a train ride, whatever it takes. But make sure that you don't take that experience away from yourself.
Yeah, and so that leads us, I think, into these last two right here. The desire to travel is 85%. And 60%, they have a destination list already. They already have that list.
That's right.
And those are the percentages higher than all.
Yes.
So the excess right there is they're just not taking action. That's what it is.
And that's what we're here for. We're here for that. We're here for that small percentage of people that know where they want to go, and they just haven't taken that one extra step. Plan it. Plan where you want to go. Take that first destination and say, you know what? It's going to take me X amount of days to drive there. It's going to take me X amount of time to fly there. It's going to cost this much to do that. Just make sure that you make concrete plans. That way it's something that's visible, something you can see. And guess what? Maybe you plan out a travel plan by car and say, you know what? That's really not any cheaper than me actually taking a flight over there and catching the bus everywhere, catching the train everywhere. It just really depends on where you're going and the infrastructure that they already have there existing. So keep all of that in mind. Make it real. Start looking into it, doing some research into the places that you want to go to, and then turn that thought, that dream into a reality. That's the only that's the only way that I could put it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. All right.
I think we got 2 more slides after this.
Ooh.
There you go. Another one of those places where I'm not exactly sure where that is, but I want to go there. And I'm going to
looks like Italy.
There it is.
Probably.
Don't limit your dreams, build toward them. Whatever it is that, wherever it is that you want to go, whatever it is that you want to see, don't just make it a thing that you're telling people that you always wanted to go there. Don't say, oh, I've always wanted to see Greece and I've always wanted to go to the Parthenon and I've always wanted to, whatever it is that you actually want to do, plan for it. That way, the next time you meet that person, you can say, hey, I just came back from Greece. So,
Yeah.
I mean, find a destination, plan for the trip, make it real, make it something that you've done, not something that you want to do.
Absolutely. And I don't know, Peter, yet if you've joined it. I literally just earlier this week started a group to help people do that. It's called the Travel Bees group.
Okay.
And I've started a group to help connect travelers and people who travel so that travelers can post what they're traveling and want to be travelers, like, are seeing it, and then they can talk and engage and try and get people like, so
Great.
that's
Great.
the whole
You
point.
get there. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so that they can be like, oh, like, you've done this already? Like, oh, this is what I want to do. And then they can, I mean, just how many similarities. I think I asked one question on there that was like, what's your number one destination list? And like, one person was like, it's this, and I've already been there. And someone else, like, there was like 3 other people that had the same place, and they're like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, it's just do it.
That's
Find
just
the people.
that sounds so much more productive than just fake liking somebody's picture that they went to. Yes, I want to be a part of that. We'll talk about that after this.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
And the last slide is just going to be one last disclaimer. This is my information. If you guys have any questions about what I've already spoke about, please get in touch with me. Go to the next slide.
Oh, there we go. Disclaimer.
I just wanted to let you guys know I am not a financial advisor, nor do I have a license to practice as an investment fiduciary. So please consult your partner, your spouse, or your investment professional about any investment decisions. I'm here to start the conversation. That's all I'm here for. I want people to know more about investments and then start doing their own digging. Because guess what? Investments vary like anything else in the world. Not every investment is going to be for every person. So please reach out to people like me that would like to start the conversation, and we can guide you to people that are more professional on it, or we can guide you to a platform that you can learn on it, or we can guide you to a place where you can find a discount on it. But please at least start the conversation.
Hey, that's what we're here for. And I'm so glad that you came on and like just shared your little tips that you have, because, investing in just any little bit of your future, again, it's like your perception. Is there another slide on here or no? Okay.
There's one more picture that we have to get to.
Okay. Yeah, there was. Yeah, no, I was going to bring it up.
Please bring up my information one more time. That's always
all right. That's what I wanted to throw it on really quick while but there's so many different perspectives that it's all about changing your perception and perspective of what you're trying to do, right? And I know that we had a conversation before about like what we can do, like I forgot how we like worded it, but like with the tax returns,
right?
Like just changing your mindset on what you do with your tax returns.
Absolutely.
So if you want to share that, I would love to share that with everybody, just like how you kind of flipped the script and you're like, this is what people usually do. What if you flipped it?
So, let's just have a conversation about it. What do people usually do with their tax returns? Pay down credit cards. They buy this expensive whatever it is that they want, or they go out and they use all of that money to pay for one trip. Right now, what if you could take your money, invest it in something, and pay for multiple trips and your credit card? I'm gonna tell you exactly how. If you take just a portion of what you get and invest it over time, you can gain on those returns. Making the right stock picks can literally be the change in your life, or picking the right financial planner. There's a lot of them out there, Like everything else, they're not all of them are going to be the same. So make sure that you do your due diligence. Make sure you do your research on their companies and make sure you pick the right one for you. Now, if we can show that last slide
Yeah.
or that last picture really quick, I want to just give you guys an insight. If you typically want to
This
get on
one?
a flight, no,
Wait, hold on.
remember the picture that I sent you
This one.
of the stock quote?
Oh, just kidding. Haha. Hold on.
Ah, ah.
That was a joke.
Right, I
Hold
get
on.
it.
Funny. All right. Oh yeah. So this is gonna. Okay. All right. You got it up. So you explain it and then I'm gonna show it.
Okay.
Add it
So
on.
yeah, now that we have a lot of tension built up and everybody's just hanging on the edge of their seats, so let's just say, for instance, you wanted to take a minimum cheap flight to a state that's fairly close. You're probably going to pay between $200 and $300 for a flight
Yeah.
like that, maybe even more. Now, this particular stock, Tesla, a few months ago was a little bit over $260. With that same flight cost, you could have bought a share of Tesla, and at this point right now, you would have been able to pay for several flights
Yeah.
using
You see right,
the same stock price.
right here, guys. It looks like it's a little too. Let's see. Can I make this bigger? I don't think I can. Right here. I don't know if you guys can see this number or not, but it says up 163%. And it's which is $965.34.
Right. And quite honestly, if you were to actually presented this stock to your financial planner, let him know, hey, listen, I know we have my travel fund and you have it invested in the stock market. I've really been, thinking about buying Tesla stock. What do you think? I don't know what your financial planner would have particularly said, but I can only guess that if you were somebody that was interested in doing high volatility in your account, which if you have any questions about what I'm saying, please call me. But if you have a high volatility account, he would have said, sure, I'll invest in some Tesla stock right now. Now, let's just say, for instance, you would have taken $1,000. And what was that again? What was that stat? That
It was
percentage?
it was 163% in the past 3 months.
So if you would have taken $1,000, which we just received a check from the government for $1,200, if you would have taken that same check, invested it in Tesla stock, just $1,000 of it. Excuse me.
That's okay. Math, calculating.
You would have had $1,930 right now. So you would have had a $930 of profit. So almost
Double. And I mean, and we don't have the specifics and everything like that. And again, go to your social or your financial advisor and talk to them about where you guys want to invest your money in and such like that. And if you need advice on who to talk to, you can ask either me or Peter. We got some connections. But the airlines right now are really, like, a lot of them are really low. Don't know what it'll be tomorrow, so don't quote me. I don't know what it'll be. But just airlines in general, or there's a lot of different stocks that are low right now in the travel industry that you could be investing in, because guess what? Travel's going to come back. People are itching to leave their houses. They want to leave.
It's a full circle, use your money that you plan on using for travel to purchase stock in travel and let it grow over time so you can use your interest to pay for travel. It's just,
Absolutely.
It makes sense. I know it makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me too. And I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. Why didn't I think about it 3 months ago? Like, I did take when the stock market went down when COVID first started, it dipped, right? naturally.
Right.
And I actually did take some money and put it into, you know, just the S&P 500 specifically. But like now I'm wishing, I was like, why didn't I like do the airlines or something like travel related, that because I couldn't think of a specific stock at the time that I wanted, that I liked enough to like invest in, you know what I mean? And I don't know why I didn't think of travel. It was silly me. But
And this is one of those things that this is the conversation that I'm trying to start with people, because any investment specialist is going to ask you certain things about what it is that you like. And the first couple of things is, what do you like? What are some things you spend your money on? What are some things that you know that are not going away? And honestly, it just makes sense after that. You just understand where to invest your money when you start thinking about what most benefits you. So obviously, some penny stock of some no-name company that you have no knowledge of is not going to be in your best interest. That's why I speak to the financial advisor. You know,
yeah.
don't use this as a lottery system. Make a plan. Make sure that you look at the downside risk as much as you look at the upside to it all, and make a valid decision based on actual knowledge. You know, don't just go off and say, dismissing it because, you know what, I can't invest, so I'm not going to. That's not true. That's not true at all. You're killing yourself over the long run. And the thing about it is you start now, you're only going to get better. It's just like anything else. And this literacy that I'm talking about, because that's what it really is. It's financial literacy. If we are able to be literate up to a certain point when it comes to reading and writing, then we should also be literate past the point of just being able to solve equations that don't mean anything to us in high school. We need to do that follow-on training ourselves. That's what's in our best interest. So please, you know, take the time out, look into investing, look into speaking with a financial planner. And if you want to just talk stuff like that, call me. I love talking stuff like this. You can ask anybody you know, anybody.
Hey, it's just about starting the conversation. I mean, some people, and that's what I'm doing too, just with the whole travel thing. It's like trying to start the conversation. Let's just talk about it. Is it feasible? Anything's feasible. Anything is possible.
Right.
Okay. So starting that conversation,
Yes.
I admire so much what you're doing, Peter. And I just think that like, you're so genuine. I've always liked you, obviously. Like me and you have been friends for a little bit now. But like just the fact that like you put yourself out there and you're just like, hey, just talk to me. Let's just start a conversation and get you where you need, headed in the direction that you want to be in.
Right. And it's all about, you know, people building up themselves. Because honestly, there's a lot of things going on there that are tearing people down left and right. But in the end, what my end goal is to make sure that people are consistently building upon themselves. So hopefully this helped. And if it did, please, you know, like and share. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you guys are seeing this at this point, you know, just make sure to follow Peter on Facebook, just so you can see what he's doing. I've got everything in the description of this video. Follow him on Facebook. I think you got do you have an Instagram too, or no? Peter?
What was that?
Do you have an Instagram?
What was that?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're kind of breaking. Yes.
Instagram?
Yes.
IG. This.
Oh. Instagram is just my name, Peter Negron Jr. That's it.
There you go. All right, yeah. Find him on social media and follow him, see what he's doing. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, see what I've got coming up, new things every week. And I do this Travel Tip Tuesday to try and just help you guys start the conversation in whatever way we're going. I mean, we're just trying to give you updates on what's going on with the travel industry, how you can best fit yourself into it all and get your dreams, make your dreams a reality, kind of like Peter said earlier. So it is just such a pleasure to be here with you guys every week. And thank you again, Peter, from the bottom of my heart, coming on and sharing your story and your tips and tricks. It's really I really highly recommend you and you helping us or me, whatever. I can't speak. It's cool. So
Thank you
thank
for
you so much,
everything. I don't know
Peter.
if you can hear me. Internet is kind of shaky right now. I don't know. Everybody must be on, but honestly, thank you so much for having me. And hopefully, I'll have another spot somewhere later on where we can talk a little bit more.
Absolutely. I would love to have you back on. Well, to all of you guys watching, thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys next week. And again, thank you so much, Peter. So you guys have an amazing rest of your week. And we'll see you guys next week for Travel Tip Tuesday at 7 p.m.